One of my favorite questions I get from people all the time is should I pay off my debts or start investing for the future? And there's pros and cons to doing one or the other or both at the same time, but it's a very common question about, do I pay off my debts or do I invest for the future? And here's my thoughts on that. We always want to know what somebody's full financial picture is, so you have to take this advice with a grain of salt because I don't know your specific financial situation, but I know this. If you have very high personal debts, credit card debts at really high interest rates, car loans at really high interest rates, student loans at really high interest rates, or personal loans, whatever loans we're talking about, let's put mortgages and home loans to the side for a minute, because that's a long-term asset that if you play the long game on housing, you're going to win, you're going to build up. But let's take all the other debts, right? No matter what they are, typically they're at high interest rates. So they've got to be paid for as soon as possible, especially if they're 10% or more. But many car loans are well over 10%. Many credit cards are well over 20 and even to the low 30%. Many personal loans or payday loans or whatever the loans are out there are going to be at very high rates of interest. And usually, to me, this is my personal preference, those rates of interest are dramatically higher than if you started investing. Where most investing, even if you argue with people and they'll say, hey, the returns on the stock market average 10% over the last 50 years, you're going to get some people arguing saying, well, they're actually less than 10% or inflation adjusted, they're even lower. But here's my thoughts on this. So if you have high interest debts, we definitely want to get a game plan to pay those off first. And if you look at my little list of things, I say, hey, here's 11 things everybody should be doing. Paying off your debt is number one. But with that being said, if you happen to have a job and your job has a 401k plan that they're going to match you and give you 100% on your money, then to me, we've got to do that at the same time we're paying off the debt. Because again, none of our debts are charging us 100% interest, but someone's about to just double your money for you. And so to me, that would be the case where we're doing both at the same time. So imagine this, okay? You work at a company, and I use these numbers because it just helps make them round. But let's say you worked at a company and you were making $50,000 and you put in 4%, which would be $2,000, and your company's going to match you $2,000. Well, you've got to take that's 100% of your money. So if that didn't make sense, like if we had $100,000 salary and you put in 4%, which is $4,000, and your company matched you $4,000, again, 100% of your money. To me, we would want to make sure that we're doing that. And then from there, we're going to look hard at the rest of your budget and figure out where can we start finding $200, $400, $600, $1,000 a month in your budget. And trust me, everybody can find it, because whether it is subscriptions you're not using, eating out way too much, a car payment you shouldn't have, overspending on your credit card, whatever it might be, there is going to be money that's going to be found there. And if you really, truly want to get out of debt and you truly want to start building up your net worth and you want to put the work and the effort in and no excuses, no bullshitting around, like you really want to do this, then you'll make the time and energy and effort to be paying attention to your debt, your finances. Because honestly, that's the number one problem that most people have in their finances are they don't pay attention. And if you're not paying attention, this problem is just going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. So again, to me, most people are going to be better served hammering down and getting those debts paid off. And while we're doing that, getting all those debts gone, and the order and the sequence, we can sit down and have a conversation about that. And whether, you hear all the snowball method, the avalanche method, the whatever method works, we can have a conversation, put a plan together. Because again, depending on somebody's risk tolerance, their overall financial picture, are they a one-income family, a two-income family? Do they have kids or not? Do you have any cash reserves built up and saved up? I mean, there's so many other variables that are not just about one versus the other. It's a little more things on the table with that. There's a few more things to actually consider than just, yes, do this, no, do that. But in the early stages, especially if you're younger, this high interest debt is going to crush you, and there's no way to win long-term in the game of money and finance if you're not getting rid of that. So to me, that's our main focus. But investing in our 401k and getting that 100% return, that's something we'd have to do. So it's not an easy yes or no question. It is definitely something you need to sit down and look at. So if you're trying to figure this out for yourself, here's where I always tell people to start. You need to have a budget. And whether you're going to do that on a pad of paper, whether you want to go to my website, CompleteMoneyPlaybook.com, and download our sample Excel spreadsheet app, whether you want to do it on one of the apps online. I mean, there's a million ways you can do this, but you've got to know what's coming in. You've got to know what's going out. We got to then know what things we can get off of the budget. And then as far as your debts go, what you've got to do is write them all down. So what the balances are, what the interest rates are, what the minimum payments are. And then we can put a plan of attack together on slowly but surely knocking all of those things out and getting rid of all of those debts. And then once you get rid of all those debts, you'll be shocked how much extra money you have to where, yeah, now you might be able to go out to dinner once in a while and be able to spend a little bit more on things that would be considered a little bit more fun. But then you're also going to be able to then do more money into your 401k or potentially do your 401k to the match and start doing a Roth IRA. So we have a little bit of this money that's going to be long-term taxed now, and some of this money is going to be long-term taxed later. And so you have both things going on at the same time. Then we can talk about buying real estate and buying a house. And again, if you go to my website, the Complete Money Playbook, you can download. It's a one-item document, talks about the top 11 things that I think people need to do. And again, these are the beginner things. These are the starter things. And what's crazy is, for most people, if all you ever did with those 11 things, you're going to win at the game of money and finance. It's really not that hard. It's really not that complicated. People try to make it sound more difficult than it is. But at the end of the day, with some basic math skills and some basic finance skills and some basic understanding of how all this stuff works on how an amortization schedule works on a mortgage and how it crushes you on a credit card or how it crushes you on a car loan. You want to understand how all these things work. So again, I think we can do a little bit of both, but early on in the process, I think we're going to focus a lot more heavily on paying off the debts and a little less on building up cash reserves and building up your retirement accounts, because again, we got to get those debts gone. And then you'll be able to invest that much more, that much faster, that much sooner in some of your other accounts. And so if you're trying to figure those things out and how those numbers work, you can look at all these calculators up online. If you go to a investment calculator, and an investment calculator and a retirement calculator are the exact same things. It's just some of your money's in a retirement account that you can't get to till later, and some money is in an investment account that is money that you can get to now. So there's the, current investments versus the retirement investments, but it's all really, at the end of the day, it works exactly the same. I know they try to confuse people and make that sound different. So again, that's my thoughts on all that kind of stuff. So if you're not sure how this works, you have questions on it, or you have debts and you're not sure, like, is this a good debt, a bad debt? How does all this work? Just know, reach out, send me a DM. We'll happily walk you through the process of putting a game plan together on how this works. And I'll start teaching a class or doing some videos if we can get enough people watching these videos so that we can explain to you how all this stuff works. Because again, they make it try to sound like it's so much more difficult and complicated than it is. And it really isn't that hard. So again, write it all down. Step number 1, this is my call to action to you. I'd like to give you something that you need to be doing. Here, if you are stressed and freaked and your finances are driving you crazy and you're trying to get a game plan together, first thing you need to do, literally right now as we're talking, go grab a pad of paper, or if you have a computer, jump on there and go to CompleteMoneyPlaybook.com and you can get a sample of what a budget looks like, okay? And then write all this down. The easiest way to do it, look at your bank statements, look at your credit card statements, look at anywhere that you spend money and start to backtrack. You can easily do a 3-month budget going backwards so you know exactly where your money's going and how you got into this situation in the first place. Because if you don't know where you currently are at this moment in time, you have to know exactly where you are now. That is the starting point to winning this game going forward. And so you've got to start somewhere. And again, that is the starting point. And then we'll go much more into detail about, hey, get these debts paid off, investing in your 401k and your retirement, and then knowing, what do I invest in? Because that's always a question that people will start to ask too, about what do I invest in? And so the other kind of factor in all of this is the psychology of it. So some people, the debt just eats at them. They can't sleep at night. They get heartburn, and it just drives them nuts to know that they have these debts out there. And so for some people, if that means, hey, I'm going to forego the 401k for now, I'm going to forego literally the emergency fund for now, I just want to take every last loose cent that I have and try to get all my debts paid off, you can do it that way. It's not, again, it all depends on what helps you sleep well at night. I know for me, this is why I'm a little more conservative in my investments, in my spending, in the things that I like to do, because I feel a whole lot better knowing that my financial situation is safe and secure. And I've gotten much better as I've gotten older, figuring out how to spend money, enjoy money, all these years of doing all the right things, figure out a better way for me to feel good about that and enjoy that stuff. So, hopefully you can too. But that psychology piece is a little bit different for everybody. My best friend, who is way financially set and secured, he knows in the big scheme of things, if he could have borrowed money back when we were getting mortgages for really low interest rates, that he could have used that money and probably earned more than the 2 or 3% interest rate he'd be paying on his house. But it makes him sleep well. It makes him feel good. And it was a goal for him that by a certain age, he would own his home free and clear. So he owns his home free and clear. He doesn't even have a mortgage on his house anymore. And so good for him. And again, the psychology piece of it is a little bit different for everybody on how you feel about debt and how you want to use debt. But I know this, a lot of the things you're going to see out there, a lot of the gurus that you're going to talk to, they get a little extreme with their use of debt. They get a little extreme with over leveraging themselves. And so you have to be careful with debt. So if you're someone who has gotten yourself in a high debt situation, I don't want to say on purpose, but kind of on purpose, because you're trying to use debt as a tool and a lever to order to increase your worth, your net worth, and be able to make more money, you have to be very careful with that. As a longtime real estate agent, I watched people back in 07, 8, and 9, as home prices have gone up like crazy, steal all the equity out of their houses, go into massive amounts of debt to try to reinvest in more homes, more assets, more things. And then when all of a sudden the market kind of collapsed, the debt just came back and bit them in the ass, and it caused a big problem. So with that being said, let's figure out where we are at this exact moment in time. Let's figure out where you are, where you want to go, and where you want to be, and put a game plan together so that you can feel confident and good about your wealth building plan and get your debts gone, get your net worth built up, get your investments going in the right direction, and you too can win at the game of money and finance. If you're enjoying the content we're putting out right here, check out this video we did. It's another tool, another way to try to help you build up your long-term wealth.